There are only 2 rules in life. Just 2. I've thought about this long and hard, and I really have come up with just 2 rules. They're very simple rules, but very, very powerful. But once these rules are lost, broken, given away, they are so hard to get back. In fact, if anything happens to these 2 rules in life, they will alter your very life. They will change your self-esteem. They will change your path, your dreams, your hopes. They will change your very essence. I am not going to share what these 2 rules are just yet. I will, I promise. First, I want to take you on an amazing journey through my life. But as I take you on this journey through my life, it's more important that you think about your journey, your story through your life. That is far more important. So, let the story begin. I looked up into the deepest, softest, most beautiful, gentle brown eyes I have ever seen. They were like liquid chocolate, and they held me like no other eyes have ever held me. I trusted those eyes. I felt completely safe in those eyes. Until the pain pulled me back into my body. I didn't want to be in my body. I was wedged and pinned up against the old weathered barn. As I opened my eyes and glanced down at my little body, half naked, and him pressed against me, was too much for my little frame to handle. So my eyes drifted back to the horse and his amazing, soft, tender brown eyes for safety and for comfort. But I didn't find any comfort in the horse. On the inside, I was screaming, kick, neigh, do something. But all I could hold on to was that amazing, tender gaze. In that moment, I became a victim. In that moment, my life was changed. In that moment, the 2 rules that are supposed to guide you through your life were just taken away from me. Trust and safety. Those 2 rules are what we build all relationships on. With others, but more importantly, with ourselves. What do you do when your childhood was just stolen? Your innocence was just raped, and your hopes washed away? I'll tell you what I did. I got up, and I put one foot in front of the other. This abuse went on and on, off and on, all throughout my childhood. But each time I rose. Each time I remembered the beautiful gaze from the horse's brown eyes. This is my story. But my story is not as important as your story. Where in your life has the 2 rules been broken? Maybe it was abuse like I suffered. Maybe it was divorce, death, financial problems, cancer. Something took those 2 rules away. And what did you do? I'll tell you what I did. This really did affect my life, how I lived, all into my adult life. I hid. Most victims hide. I hid behind my husband. I hid behind his career. I hid behind my kids. I hid behind baggy clothes. I even tried hiding behind exercise. But I think the most painful thing I did is I hid my voice. I told no one about my abuse. My husband asked me out on a date. Now, I believe all married couples should continue to date. So he took me to a movie, and we went and saw the movie Good Will Hunting. And in that movie, Robin Williams plays a therapist. And he was confronting Matt Damon's character, who was this brilliant young man who had not reached his full potential. And Robin was explaining to Matt's character that they had both suffered from childhood abuse. And Robin was explaining to Matt that it wasn't his fault. And he just kept saying over and over again, it's not your fault. It's not your fault. It's not your fault. And Matt's character would say back, I know, I know, I know. But the scene went on and on and on until Matt completely lost it and broke down and finally cried. As I was sitting in that cold, dark theater, I realized it wasn't my fault. It wasn't my fault. And I began to cry. My husband picked me up like I was a little girl and carried me to the car where I completely lost it. I had never released the pain. My husband thought I needed therapy. But I didn't. I knew it wasn't my fault. I just learned it in the movie. I'm okay. It's not my fault. I got it. Me and Matt are buds now. Luckily, I have an amazing, strong, beautiful hero, my husband, who insisted, and I couldn't say no, and took me to therapy. Where I am very grateful because I learned how to get back those two rules in life. I learned how to gain trust. I learned how to keep myself safe. I learned how to get stronger. In fact, I was feeling pretty good. In fact, I was looking pretty good. So we decided to go on a cruise because that's where you go when you look good. So we were on the cruise, which I absolutely love cruises, all the food and food and food. And I was walking back to my cabin one night, just thinking how blessed I feel. And out of nowhere, a man grabs me, picked me up like I was a little rag doll, and threw me down on the cold, damp, hard tile bathroom floor. I looked up to see another man forcing himself on top of me. What would you do? I bet you would kick. I bet you would scream. I bet you would fight. I think that's what most people would do. Fight back. I didn't fight. I didn't fight back. I didn't know how. My experience said, you know what to do. You learned it as a child. So I did the only thing I knew how to do. I went numb, and I went away, and I went to the only place I knew, back to that amazing gaze of those deep, dark, beautiful brown eyes of the horse. We learn most of our behavior as a little girl. So the only thing I knew is to do that. And that held me until he was done with his cruel act of selfishness. And he walked away like he just won the lottery with that smug look on his face. I sat there. I sat there in the silence. I sat there in the pain. I couldn't rise until the sting of the sweat left my eyes. I know I'm not the only one who's ever sat silent in their pain, has sat silent and felt that wound so deep that you can't go there. Crawl into bed with your partner 2 inches away and bury your head in the pillow so you could cry. Or hide in a closet. Or perhaps you like to take long, hot showers to wash away the tears. Or go for a long drive and turn up the tunes. Some people turn to drugs, alcohol, gambling, pornography, exercise, food addiction, shopping, but none of these things work. It took me a long time to rise, to dress myself emotionally, to walk out of that bathroom. But I did. And then I said, enough is enough. I was going to take that pain and let it shape me into something better, something more beautiful, something stronger, something that I can be proud of, something I didn't have to hide. I had it in me all along. I did. That light was in me. I was just hiding in the darkness, hiding out in my shadows. I was tired of stumbling over rocks that lied in my past. I know that we've all done this. It's not just me. We focus on our trials or our burdens, anything, and we look at them so long, they do something actually cruel to us. They magnify and they get bigger and bigger until that's all you can see. It's all consuming. I learned a really valuable lesson from an incredible, beautiful little 5-year-old. Think of a 5-year-old, outgoing, fun, and brutally honest. This 5-year-old particularly was my son, and I love him, so I took him to one of my favorite places, a pawn shop, Adore Pawn Shops, opened up the pawn shop door. The smell hit me first. It's kind of like stale air, a little hint of cigarette, reminded me of my grandma's basement. It's awesome. But I love pawn shops because you can get pearls and pellet guns, antlers, and video games, which is why we were there that day. So we walked up to the counter because I'm a woman, and I asked for directions. And I asked the man, where's the video games? He pointed to a bookshelf behind him just full of video games, and he said, come around. It'd be easier for you to come pick them out. Awesome. So I walk around the counter, and bam! I realized this man was really short, and I just found out why. He had no legs. Seriously, he was just using his arms to get around. My 5-year-old is coming around the corner, and he is going to say something. He did. So I shoot this man a look like, hello. He shoots me back, bring it on, lady, I've heard it. I'm like, okay, he's coming. So my son rounds the corner, boom. Deer in the headlights would be an understatement. That wasn't good enough for my son. Oh no, he stalks him, walks towards the man, circles the poor gentleman, stops right next to him. Bam! It's okay, dude, you still got arms. It's the kind of kid I'm raising. In that moment, I realized that I was still seeing the negative. I was still seeing what was missing. My son was seeing the positive and what the man had. And I was still guilty of that in my life. I was still guilty of seeing the negative, what was missing, what was stolen from me, instead of seeing what I have overcome, what I have created out of the ashes. I was more than enough. You are more than enough. One of my favorite sayings is no pain, no gain. And Muhammad Ali was asked, how many sit-ups can you do? I think that's a legit question. How many can you do, dude? And he says, I don't count my sit-ups. I start counting when it hurts. When you feel the pain, that's when it counts. That is when you become a champion. End quote. I believe that is true in our lives. When there is pain, that's when you become a champion. I became a champion when I was a child because I rose. My son, when he was at age 1 and diagnosed with cancer, he became a champion. When my daughter at age 8 was diagnosed with autism, she became a champion. I became a champion again, rising off that bathroom floor. In those big moments, when life gives you pain, that is when you become a champion. I am not a victim. I am not a survivor. I did not just endure. My voice will not be silent anymore. Now, when I look back through my life and I look at the view, when I see those amazing, deep, beautiful brown eyes of the horse, what an amazing gift God gave me. When I think of the man in the pawn shop and his bring it on attitude, like he can handle anything, made me want to handle anything and really impacted my life. My son showing me the positive and what was possible. When I look at my life now, I am not defined by what happened to me. I am not defined by what they did to me. I am defined by what I do now, the actions I do now as I move forward. I am not a victim. I am victorious. Thank you.